talking about adult education.
Yeah.
So a little bit different to what we've done in the last 2 weeks, isn't it? So
It's different.
we talked about apprenticeships, we talked about careers advice.
Now we're talking about adults.
Adult education, covering all things from ESOL through to hobby courses, skills for work. There's a lot to go through this show.
Shall we begin?
Let's go.
Let's go.
So one of the things we've started every show that we've done so far with some statistics, right?
Surprise me today, Waj.
We've got some new ones today. And these are from the census data. So the overall proportion without English in Leicester is 2.1%. But in areas of the city, it's as high as 15%.
Wow.
So mainly in the city. And there's even more, isn't there? So I thought you had a stat for me today. Oh, go on then.
So 6.9% of people in Leicester speak a different main language and actually cannot speak English well.
Well, that's great. Well, not great, but that's great for us because we have
a very special guest. We actually have a few special guests today.
Yeah, we do.
But let's
introduce one first.
Let's start with our first one. So we are here with Nick Devonport. Nick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. My name is Nick Devonport. I'm the Programme Area Manager for the ESOL department at Leicester College.
English department, basically. A very, very important department for a lot of people who have English as a second language. You've mentioned ESOL, Nick. What is ESOL?
So ESOL is for people who have English as a second language. We teach English to all levels of students from pre-entry, which is a complete beginner with zero English, right up to level 2. We also teach ESOL and GCSE, so we go right up to level 2. We're a huge department. With any 1 year, we'll have about 3,000 students.
Wow.
Mainly part-time, but we also have some full-time students as well. And because we're so huge, we teach throughout the city. So we have classes at Abbey Park campus, Freeman's Park campus, and St Margaret's. But we also do a lot of work in the community as well. We have a centre at Ross Walk in Belgrave. We do a lot of work in Highfields. We have a centre on St Stephen's Road. We also have a centre on Connaught Street. And we also teach ESOL at Leighton Training Centre as well.
So we're many locations.
We're
everywhere,
all over the city.
really.
So we're trying to do as much as we can in the community. And again, because we're so huge, we teach classes. We have morning classes, we have afternoon classes, we also have evening classes, and we also do a lot of teaching on Saturday mornings as well.
Wow. So it's a lot of accessibility from what I hear.
Well, that makes sense because obviously even in Leicester, the population of the ethnic minorities is very has
high.
Overtaken the sort of white population of the city. So that makes complete sense. And it seems that Leicester College are definitely bringing to the table what is required in the city and for the population of Leicester.
Yeah.
So.
And we're trying to be as responsive as we can, which is why we have evening classes and Saturday morning classes, because a lot of our students they work.
Yeah, or have like other responsibilities
And
like
have
parents.
Absolutely, childcare responsibilities.
So how would someone know that they need to do an ESOL course?
I mean, it's for anybody really with English as a second language. So if you have no English at all, we can help you with that, and we have specialized teachers who are fully qualified in dealing with people with no English at all. But even if you can speak English, but maybe you don't have the level 1, level 2 that's required for your work, we can help with that. And again, it is specialised. They're specialised, qualified language teachers. There's a lot of information on the college website about the ESOL courses. The application can be made online. We can help you with the application if you're struggling to complete it. You can make an appointment to see somebody, and we can go through it with you face to face. As part of the application process, you will also have a fee assessment. So we'll check your immigration status and also your working status to see whether you need to pay fees or not. The majority of our students don't need to pay fees, but we do checks on that as well. And because we're so big, we teach ESOL, but we do a lot of vocational courses as well that have an ESOL element in it. So we do ESOL and driving theory, ESOL and maths, ESOL and ICT. We do sewing classes, crochet, yoga, and also GCSE English and maths. And all those courses have an ESOL thread running through them.
That's fantastic. So you're not resulting in a person doing ESOL and then having to wait till they complete that before they can move on onto something that could lead into work potentially.
It's like a 2-in-1, isn't it? Like you're doing something along with learning English. And am I right in assuming there's like ESOL and driving?
We do ESOL and driving theory.
Wow.
We have qualified driving instructors who are also qualified ESOL teachers as well.
That's amazing.
And they'll take you through through the theory test. It's a very popular course.
Because I can imagine that driving is a sort of a universal skill. So there might be people coming here that can drive already, but not necessarily be able to do a theory test.
Which is, and in many countries, people don't even do like theory tests.
Exactly.
So it's quite...
Yeah, we often find it's the language element that's difficult.
Yeah.
So, our students have the skills to drive, but actually it's the language that they struggle with, which is what we can support with.
What can I do after ESOL? So...
Yeah.
Crikey! I mean, it's we work very closely with the careers department at the college, and we encourage our students to stay within the college and go on to further vocational courses as well. All of our courses from entry 1 up to level 2 are accredited, so you will be encouraged to take exams in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So they're qualified with City and Guilds. We also do functional skills, so they can be used in employment to provide evidence of your language ability. We do a couple of full-time courses for adults, which is ESOL Health and Social Care, ESOL and Business Administration as well. So they're NVQ courses with an ESOL element. And that most of our students then move on to employment having done that.
ESOL, wow.
That's great. So if anyone wants to apply for an ESOL course, it's simply going onto the leicestercollege.ac.uk website and applying and hitting apply button once they've searched for the course they want to do. Or alternatively, they can pop into any of the campuses or the centres that you've just mentioned earlier and get some help in completing the form as well. So
it's an open door policy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
very
fantastic.
So
fairly easy. It's just a case of coming in. No need to get anxious. The support is there and it's available if you need it. Yeah. So there's something else as well that we that is covered in the areas that you work on, Nick. So what is IELTS?
Okay, so we're also an IELTS test centre, and IELTS is the International English Language Testing System. So it's a global test that you can take anywhere in the world, and it's the same test no matter where you take it. It'll be the same test on the same day, and it's a gauge of your English, and you'll be tested in reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and you'll be given a score for those 4 elements and an overall score. And we find that most of our candidates that come and do IELTS with us are looking because they want to study in higher education,
right,
and further education. And a lot of universities and college will require an IELTS test as part of the application process if English is your second language.
You answered my question. I was going to ask you. So, what can you do with an IELTS?
Crikey, with an IELTS, you can. It's like a passport, really, because it can help you get you into university. It can also help with immigration, and it can also help with your work as well. Particularly if you work in the health sector, and you're looking to register with the NMC or the GMC. They will accept an IELTS certificate as proof of your.
Is there a cost attached to that then, Nick?
The IELTS test is £190.
Okay, so the test itself.
The test itself is £190. We run them at the Abbey Park campus Saturdays. On average, is about two every month.
Oh, wow.
So they're quite regular. And
they're very regular. It's an all-day test. We want people there by about 8 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. You'll do your reading, listening and writing in the morning. There'll be a speaking test in the afternoon with an examiner, and you'll get your certificate within 13 days.
Is there any prep that people need to do for an IELTS test, and what would that prep look like?
I mean, it's because it's a global test. There's lots of preparation materials out there. You need to have depending on what level you need for IELTS, you need to have a high level of English. But there are lots of preparation materials out there that can help you with the exam and with the test techniques. It's a very unique test. Mm-hmm. So as much practice as possible. There's a lot of online stuff. The college also provides IELTS preparation classes. where we concentrate very much on the reading and writing elements of the test, because that's where most candidates seem to struggle with the reading and writing. And we focus on those as well. One of the other tests that we do is the occupational English test.
You beat me to it. I was just about to ask you, what is an OET?
OET. So OET is very similar to IELTS. It's a language test, but it can only be used for registration with the NMC or the GMC.
And what are these? I'm hearing these acronyms, but for the listeners at home,
the General Medical Council and the Nursing and Midwifery Council.
Perfect.
So if you're a qualified nurse or doctor in your own country and you want to practice in the UK, you need to register with the GMC and the NMC.
So this is like where IELTS play into that as well, didn't you say that earlier?
Absolutely, yeah. But with the OET, it's more specific to the healthcare sector.
Okay.
Right.
So IELTS is an academic English test, whereas OET, the questions and the things you'll be asked are more related to health and care. There are different tests you can do. There's a medicine one, there's a nursing one, there's podiatry, there's radiotherapy. I think there's about 9 different.
Wow.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. There's optometry here, occupational therapy. So there seems to be quite a lot. So it's the way that you can transition into working in the NHS and working in the UK.
It's like a pathway course, isn't it? Like you can just, or like an add up or something to kind of.
I guess it prepares you to work in the NHS and into the sort of sector.
And it's a requisition as well. As part of your registration, you would need to have either an IELTS test or an OET.
Oh,
is there a cost attached to the OET?
There is for the OET. It's about it's an Australian test. So you apply online and you would pay in Australian dollars.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the conversion is about £300, depending on. And for both IELTS and OET, once you've got that certificate, is valid for 2 years.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So there is a period that is valid for.
It's valid for 2 years, and it can be used as many times as you like.
So how do people kind of like register for an OET with us?
So you go onto the OET portal, so it's My OET, and register on there. You need to upload your documents, put all your information in. Again, we have two tests every month, again on Saturdays. So they're fairly regular.
Okay, yeah, similar to IELTS essentially.
Similar to IELTS, yeah.
That'd be good. So we covered ESOL, IELTS, OET. What do you want to kind of like else that you think would be good for the listeners that are listening as people who speak English as a second language?
I think don't be afraid to come and see us at Leicester College. I know it can be very daunting, particularly if you have difficulty in communicating in English, but we're incredibly supportive. We're very experienced in dealing with second language speakers. We'll provide as much help and support as you can.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming in, Nick. I think we covered a lot of topic in terms of like testings for English as a second language and the support available. For those who are looking to do ESOL classes, please do get in touch with us. Before we go off, do you want to finally tell us all the locations people can come in with ESOL?
Thank you very much. So it's Abbey Park campus, St Margaret's campus, Freeman's Park campus. We have Ross Walk Centre in Belgrave. In Highfields, we have Connaught Street, St Stephen's Road, and also Leighton Training Centre in Humberston as well.
That's fantastic.
We're all over.
Perfect.
Thank you. That's really interesting to know, Nick, and we really appreciate you coming on and taking the time out to come and join us and discuss this today. So we've got another guest coming on, and it's Ian from our City Skills Centre in the city centre, right in the city centre. So there's some official statistics, aren't there, Aisha?
There are.
So do you want to go through some of the statistics?
Yeah, sure. So now that we've covered kind of like English as a second language, we'll be talking about employment and skills for work, which will be the star of the show today, I believe. So the average unemployment rate in the UK is 3.7%, and in Leicester it is 5%. Although the employment rate in East Midlands, which is the region Leicester falls under,
they are the highest
in the UK. Locally, we are still below the average by nearly 2%.
So that's still quite high for us in Leicester, even though the region itself is doing quite well. So what I also know is 13.8% of Leicester population have said they want a job. So this next section is perfect for that 13.8%, isn't it?
For all those people who are looking for a job. Another stat to throw at you, Waj.
Yeah.
So 22,600 households in Leicester currently are workless.
Wow.
Yeah, which means that there's no one working in those households over the age of 16. And that's kind of 21.1% roughly.
That's quite high, isn't it?
It's a very high rate.
So it's important, clearly, for not only the wider Leicester community, but also the Muslim community in the city to know what options are available to help them get back into work. And we've got the perfect guest for this, haven't we?
Yes. Hello, Ian.
Good afternoon.
Do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Yes, I'm Ian Lewis. I'm the City Skills Centre manager.
Ooh. What is the City Skills Centre?
So the City Skills Centre is based on Charles Street, right in the city of Leicester, and we are there to support unemployed adults back into work. So we're based there because we found that we're in the middle of the city, so all the bus links, whether people are in the city or in the county, all the buses stop up and down Charles Street. And also adults who are unemployed may have had a bad experience at school, so if they go to our main campuses, which are quite big, they get daunted by that fact. So the City Skills Centre is a smaller site with adults based on site, so they're not going to bump into 16 to 18-year-olds. It's that adult environment which we find that people like.
That's great.
That is one thing we don't really take into account. Like, adults want to be with adults to learn.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point, going back into a school environment if it wasn't the best environment for you. That makes complete sense. So you've already covered the next question. Are the programs available to all ages? But we're talking adults specifically, 19 plus, aren't we here?
We definitely are. But one of the key things to say, especially now, we are seeing a lot of older adults. So people that are 40 plus. We're seeing adults now in their 50s and early 60s because of the cost of living crisis. They might find themselves unemployed, but they still need to look. They still need to, and they want to look for work, and in some cases change career from what they were doing before because that job no longer exists.
Wow. Okay. So how can Leicester College help in that? So where do we come in situations like this?
So we work very closely with a number of partners who support unemployed people, and obviously one of those big partners is Job Centre Plus. And also local employers who may be recruiting. So on one hand, we've got unemployed adults who want to work, and we've got employers with vacancies that they can't fill.
Okay.
So the college fits in the middle of those by trying to upskill those unemployed adults so they can fill some of those vacant posts.
So it's like a bridge.
Yes.
Wow.
An important bridge by the sounds of it, definitely.
Obviously, we can't train someone in 6 weeks how to be a doctor or be a nurse or occupations like that. So we focus on areas where we can support those particular individuals to transition into work. Some of those things might be what we call a license to practice. So to actually carry out that particular role, you have to have a certain qualification. Otherwise, you can't get that license to practice. One example, well, a couple of examples of programs that we do that fit into that license to practice are security. So to work in the security sector, and there is a big demand in Leicester and beyond for security staff, you have to have an SIA license, a Security Industry Authority license, to do that particular role.
I didn't know that.
So we run a program over 6 weeks, which takes somebody from not having an SIA license to, at the end of the program, completing and gaining an SIA license. And then from our contacts and employers that we work with, once that person has got that SIA license, we're also able to facilitate a guaranteed interview for that particular
That was my next question. So you help them secure an interview so that they can go into employment, support them. Do you support them in doing mock interviews and application forms as well to secure other interviews if they're not successful in that one?
Yes, so built into all of our programs is the cornerstone of supporting unemployed people back into work. So we'll do,
that's the heart of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we do applying for a job, how to apply for a job, where to look for a job, how am I going to fill out my application form. Some people might not have the required IT skills, so we can help them with those skills as well.
That's fantastic.
As well as then preparing them for the interview and post-interview, that transition into work if they are successful. And we see a lot of people who aren't very confident. They've been out of work, or they were made redundant, and that's knocked their confidence. So one of the things that's built into all of our programs is confidence building.
Oh, wow.
And obviously adults, as much as young people, need to have their confidence built.
Most definitely. That's definitely a thing. And I think it's really interesting that you provide the support from application form through to interview and getting the qualifications they need to secure that job as well. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic because I've seen some of the success stories that you've had come out of the City Skills Centre, and to see the sort of students go on to get a job and the smiles on their faces knowing that they've landed it, and that confidence peak that they suddenly have is amazing. So in terms of if someone wanted to find out more and come and see you, can they just walk into City Skills Centre, or do they need to get in touch first?
Yes, they can just walk into the City Skills Centre and talk to the friendly staff on reception, and they're able to help them to apply. Mm-hmm. Also, when they're visiting the job centre, they can also be referred via their work coach as well.
So this is how people get referred
Yes.
to the City
Yes.
Skills Centre?
So yeah, they can refer themselves or via their work coach, or if they're working with an intermediary organisation, they can get referred via that organisation as well.
It's fantastic. Is there anything else that we wanted to cover in terms of City Skills that we may have missed, or we've not asked you because we just simply don't know?
So in terms of, obviously I spoke about security, we also do a programme for the NHS, so people looking to work in the NHS, whether that's in an admin role, portering, catering, cleaning type position, we're able to prepare people for work in that particular area as well. And obviously that's a vast area of work, the NHS. We also, which is highly unusual, run a very intensive rail engineering programme.
Oh, that's a fairly new one, isn't it?
Yes,
I've seen.
Yes. So there's a big demand with the rail network in across the country, and obviously with the building of HS2 as well as the existing network, which has to be maintained to safety standards. And to do that, obviously you need rail engineers. So we run a programme that supports people and helps people to gain the recognised licence so that they can work on the rail network. And again, students that complete
really
that
interesting.
programme would get a guaranteed interview as well.
That's fantastic. That's something that most people probably don't even know is available
or
to
as
them.
a career. I think City Skills is kind of like a safety net from what I've gathered. Like they help you apply for a job, help you with CV, interviews, courses, and also the confident building course, which I think...
And I'm sure there's people listening right now think that's exactly what I need.
Because as an adult, making a career change or, applying for a new job is really daunting and can be really scary. Whereas, the world perceives that a lot of young people have all the opportunities in the world, and it can be really, hard for, adults or, people in
especially if you've been in a job for such a long time and then you've been made redundant and you just don't know where to start.
And it's not your fault.
It's not exactly. So I think it's a fantastic service that's available to us in Leicester. Yeah. We're very fortunate. Ian's a City Skills Centre manager. So if you go in, I'm sure you'll see Ian floating around.
Give
and
him a wave, say hi.
But yeah, that's really interesting. Just one more thing before we bring on our next guest, because I know some of these are actually delivered in the City Skills Centre as well. So some of the courses that we do are free as well, aren't they? Depending on your eligibility crisis, yeah.
Yes, the majority of the programs are free of charge. Some people, as Nick was speaking about earlier on, may need to have a fee assessment depending on their settlement status in the UK. But generally speaking, if people are in receipt of benefit and they're over 19, then the courses would be free of charge for them. In addition to the course being free of charge, there's another hidden benefit, because we also provide a free lunch. To adult learners.
Love free food.
That's great.
Yes. So,
if that's not an incentive,
yes.
I don't know what is.
Yes.
Well, we can't eat until about 8 o'clock today, but yeah.
But we're looking forward to it. No, thank you so much, Ian, for coming in. Again, you are based in town on City Skills. There's a question. Someone said, is the food halal?
Yes, we can. As long as people let us know
of
their dietary requirements, we can arrange dietary requirement food.
That's great.
See, food got people listening.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much once again, Ian, for coming in. Once again, you can find out about City Skills Centre on our website at leicestercollege.ac.uk.
Thank you. So we're going to bring in our next guest, Rebecca. But before I go into that, just wanted to let you know that in terms of our free adult courses, you need to be 19 or older. But if you are in full or part-time employment and earn less than 20,319, so you would need to provide a self-assessment form and fill out that to find out. You are able to still get free adult courses for pre-entry, entry, level 1 or level 2. And then in some cases up to a level 3 as well, depending on the situation, which I think is fantastic and it's really interesting. This scheme has been running for about 3-4 years now in terms of free adult courses, but it's also about upskilling people that in employment that might not be able to afford a course, but giving them the opportunity to take that next step in the ladder on their journey, on the
career path. Yeah.
So that's great as well. So it's worth noting.
Yeah, and just to remind people, like level 2 again, that's GCSE level, isn't it?
Exactly.
And then level 3 is A level, so it is that equivalent.
Exactly.
Based on our last week's show, I did take that away with me.
So we have got Rebecca here, Rebecca Young from our distance learning part-time hobby courses department. So Rebecca, can you just give us a bit of an introduction of what you do?
Yep, so my name's Rebecca and I manage the distance learning provision. If I talk about that one first.
Yeah.
So it's links to what you've just been saying. It's the level 2 qualifications, the certificates. We do also have 2 level 3s that we do to help people progress to that next level, and they're on autism and mental health awareness.
Oh, wow.
And you do them all from home. That's the joy and the purpose of distance learning. So it's all about learning in the community, isn't it, today, where this is learning at home. So it can't get any easier, really. There's no timetables to stick to. You don't even have to come to college to enrol or pick up your learning materials. We send everything out to you, or you log in online to our learning platform. So we have around 35 courses you can pick from.
Wow.
And there's a whole, raft of reasons why people enrol onto the qualifications. It could be a personal journey that they're going on. For example, we have courses on autism and dementia, and people may choose to do this because they have a relative of that condition and they want to know a bit more.
And it can fit in around their life as well, so they can do it at 11 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Any time and anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, I think our advert used to be a man sat on a rock with a laptop doing his work, which perhaps a bit extreme. But yeah, the bus, the train, and anywhere really.
It's the accessibility of it, isn't it? It's like the comfort of your own. You're in charge of your own time, basically.
You are, and it takes the pressure away. Talking about walking back into education, back into that classroom environment, sitting there with that feeling of doom that the teacher's going to ask you.
Yeah.
You haven't got that, so it's a real safe way of getting back into learning, getting a qualification. And we have had students who have come back after decades out of education, done one of these courses, then enrolled onto further education and gone into higher education.
Wow.
Yeah, and really turned their lives around, kind of thing, or changed their career direction, or got on the job ladder, all those kind of things.
That's quite interesting. This has been a bit of a common theme between Ian speaking about things and Rebecca as well, about the anxiety of going back into education, and sometimes that could be holding you back, but actually distance learning could really help you with that, because you're not having to go into that college environment or even the City Skills Centre. If it's a bit daunting, this could be a lead into starting your education journey again.
It's a really good stepping stone. Like you say, you're safe, you're at home, you're in your own environment,
in your own comfort zone, essentially.
You have the tutor support. You can email or call them at any time. You'll never meet them face to face, but support is there for you. So you're not sat at home thinking, oh my goodness, I've got no idea what to do. You can contact us at any point and we can support you with deadlines as well and extensions. But there's lots of support available, and then you have your feedback sent to you via post, or you log onto the platform and it's there. And it's very supportive and directs you to what you need to do, and it looks at what you can build on next as well.
I think I can absolutely vouch for that, because having done a distant learning course just very recently, I've done my IAG. For those who don't know, IAG is Information Advice and Guidance Level 2 course. I did it because I'm in a student-facing role, and then, there would be times I'd have to give guidance or advice or information to students, and, just to kind of have that saying that like legal or like that qualification.
I've seen you use that during this radio show, because you do the whole summarizing thing, and I'm sure she's learned that in the information and guidance.
Coming back, signposting. See, it's all coming back to me. But no, it's been a wonderful experience. Like Rebecca said, everything was done online and in my own time, so I could do it literally just before going to bed or just on a Saturday morning. And there's been times where I've needed an extension, and they've been more than enough. More than
accommodating,
yes. And kind of like putting that forward, and I've not felt any pressure. I've always felt like help is there when I need it. It's not been like, oh my god, it's like I'm like a tough spot, I need help, and it's like instant replies. And I didn't need to do any pen or paper, everything was online. I had this e-booklet, but if I needed I could order a booklet in the post, and that could come to me as well. So it is really about accommodating to your needs in your own comfort zone.
So it makes it really easy.
I would recommend it to everyone. 10/10.
Yeah, there's the online option, or there is paper-based, like you say. Yeah. And on the paper-based version, you receive textbooks and then workbooks to fill in. Mm-hmm. I love a textbook. I want to highlight. I want to underline it. But then you can type it up on a Word document, so you haven't got to do the handwriting thing. So we don't do much handwriting anymore, do we?
That is true.
Digital world
and
we're
spelling,
going into.
things like that.
My handwriting's got terrible since I've stopped using notepads, especially in COVID. I got rid of all the paper. I mean, it's very sustainable, I must say, but I do everything digitally. So now when I'm actually writing, I'm just like, what happened to my handwriting?
I can't imagine writing without Grammarly now.
You can't be relying on
I know, but it's there as a safety net.
Well, technology is evolving with the AI things as well. So.
I mean, talking about the Grammarly as well, you're not judged on your spelling or grammar in these qualifications.
Yeah.
The content, so that's a biggie as well.
Yeah, especially for people who have like learning disabilities, like dyslexia or anything like that. You don't have to focus that. As long as you get the general gist of things and the idea of the concept of what you're learning, and you can explain that, I think that's more than enough for you to like get a pass and qualify for that certificate or course.
That's fantastic. So you've said you don't have to pay, they're free, but do certain people have to pay?
There's eligibility for rules. There's always something to go to confuse everybody. So if they're 19 to 24, they must already have a full level 2 qualification, which could be 5 GCSEs or a BTEC extended diploma. But if they apply online, we can check all of this for them. That's not a problem, because it is confusing. And then they might have to have a fees assessment to see if they're a home student, but apply, and then we can go from there, really.
Is there a qualification attached to them completing the distance learning courses?
Yes, it's a level 2 certificate. It lasts forever, and it's the equivalent to a GCSE.
Can be used on your CV, used for job interviews.
Definitely, yeah. And it shows you as an independent person, you're an independent learner.
Yeah.
You want to develop your own skills and knowledge, you want to better yourself, and that's a good thing to have on any CV, isn't it?
Yeah, you're kind of going out your way to get that extra like level of qualification along with your job, or taking time out your personal life to do it.
I think it's interesting because you mentioned autism and other courses, and I've seen like there's end of year life courses as well. So I can imagine that there's people listening that don't know how to handle a situation that life has put them in.
Or even know that there's help like that available.
Exactly.
Just to kind of like shine a light on them. Like I know, a lot of people have like in our community, a lot of grandparents and people are dealing with dementia or early onsets of dementia. I know my grandma's going through that recently, so it's like having to repeat ourselves again. So it would be something like that can help us.
If you could do a course to find out more.
Like a professional course, not just from like, from here and there or here and tell or what you read online, but from kind of like an actually accredited, certified course.
Yeah, it's more research. It talks about the different types of dementia, how you can support, talks about the signposting, how you can get help as the carer as well, because that's important. You've got to look after you too. Lots of people do dementia. And we have a lot of mental health awareness courses, and after COVID and the impacts.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's come forward so much. Like people are so into like getting better, not just physically but mentally.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And especially, like, for example, if you're managing staff, actually doing a course like that would really help and benefit you to support your team as well. So, or your colleagues, for example, so that you know. So you could do that in your own time to just further develop and do that sort of development that you need to do to be a better manager or better colleague.
Yeah, definitely. We also have team leading and lean organisation management techniques, so they're good ones for career progression if you're looking for that next step.
That's true, just to get like that extra.
Sometimes it's really hard when you want to progress to be a team leader or a supervisor. They either want the experience or the qualification, so this can help tick that part off for them.
That's fantastic. So that we've covered distance courses quite heavily on that in that sort of little segment. But you also look after part-time and hobby courses, don't you?
Yes, I do. These are the fun ones.
Yeah. So tell us more.
Go on. We love talking about fun things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole array. This is learning for the sake of learning. So we do things like cake decorating and sugar craft, beauty courses.
We've been looking into these, haven't we? As part of our research.
Garment making.
Ceramics. That's the one I'm interested
ceramics,
in.
There's leather binding. There's so many things. Upholstery is really popular, but garment making is probably my favourite one, where people go in and they learn how to do patterns and designs and make their own clothing.
They're real key skills, because I know that pattern cutting is a wanted skill, especially with Leicester, within the garment industry that we have in Leicester. And from what I know, that you can earn a lot of money from just grading patterns and cutting patterns.
You can, and a lot of them set up businesses like just sew and repair businesses with on Facebook, that kind of thing. And it just saves you an awful lot of money. There's always that pair, that item of clothing that you want doesn't quite fit, but you can take it in and make it look tailored.
Alter it a little.
Like it looks more expensive than
this also sounds like a great course that if you've retired and you just want to do something and learn a new skill.
And
you'll
make
be able
new
to
friends as well.
Yeah, come into... I might have to get my mum onto this.
Yeah, for anyone listening, get your mums, your grandparents involved, give them something kind of like...
I can imagine her wanting to do the baking one and learning how to do the cake decorating.
Ooh.
Because that's something...
Can I eat the cake?
Well, you can eat the cake, yeah.
Yeah, they are really good. They make flowers and roses out of the sugar. It's quite amazing, really, what they do.
I think we should try and do one soon.
So when do these kind of like courses take place?
All different times. We have some evening courses.
Okay.
They're Monday to Fridays, but we do have some evening ones as well. And they're at St Margaret's campus, Leighton Training Centre that Nick mentioned earlier, Abbey Park campus, Freeman's. But it is all on the website. If you have a good look, or you can inquire at the college for what you're
and again,
for.
If you're not unsure about using technology, you're more than welcome to pop into any of the campuses. And someone should be on hand to help you do an application form and support you with those. Is there a cost attached to the courses, or?
It depends on the individual, but the majority are funded. But again, we can talk them through all the options.
They're not that expensive though, are they?
They're not that expensive. No, they're 9-week blocks. It's 2.5 hours a week. So they're not super expensive.
So it's not too like time consuming as well. It's not like
it's just like you've got an afternoon to yourself to be, do you really
make a pot or decorate a cake.
Yeah, just not be mum, not be dad, not be the boss.
Just be you.
This is me. Yeah.
I mean, for me, some of the ones I'm finding interesting, there was a Photoshop and a digital photography course, which go hand in hand, and you'd be able to manipulate some of your images and that could lead into work.
Yeah, like a lot of like social media content creators, like even the youngsters nowadays, like knowing or having the skill that you can use Adobe workshops and a lot of like graphic designing or anything like that is always an added bonus, and people look for that in CVs and when they're like looking into hiring someone within those roles.
Yeah, so there's some really interesting... Is there anything that we've not covered that you want to let our listeners know today?
With community learning, we're really keen to get back out into the community. Pre-COVID, we did a lot of work out in community centres, and we've lost a bit of that. So if anyone's listening that would like us to come and do some sessions at their community centre...
Oh, wow, that's a great offer.
We would really like to hear from them.
That's a great offer.
Is there an email and a phone number they can get in touch with?
If they contact the college switchboard and ask for community learning.
So the college switchboard number, I believe, is 0116 224 2240.
Oh, wow. You had that memorized.
Very good. There is also there's a contact page on the website as well. And you can just put whatever that. So if you want to get in touch with the community learning team to organise some community learning, then you can just put
this is a real call out to local community centres. Potentially mosques as well.
Yes.
Religious establishments,
community
churches.
centres.
If you wanted someone to come in and support the community to put a course on, Rebecca here has offered that she'd be willing to help and support. So get in touch. I think that's great. I think that would be awesome, being able to go, and because we do know that some people do struggle to get out to the college. and they need something that's more local to them because maybe they've got to pick up the kids after school,
or they don't have a car.
Exactly. So that's a fantastic offer, and I didn't know that, so that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us, Rebecca.
No problem.
So there's as we round up, we've got about 5 minutes to talk about something. So one of the things I wanted to cover is access education.
Ooh.
So we've not covered
that.
What's access? That's a good point. What is access? So in terms of once you've got past sort of FE education, you'd want to, as an adult, if you've got up until your GCSEs but you didn't do your A levels, you'll want to get back into education and you want to move into higher education. And how would you do that? So essentially what you're looking at is you have a GCSE potential adult pathway that gives you your GCSE qualifications, but then what you can move up to is into an access course, depending on your subject, that gives you your level 3 qualification in order for you to then apply for university and get that second chance to go to university and complete your degree. So I think that's really interesting, that pathway. Now, most traditional pathways that we take is doing our GCSE, don't we? And then we do our level 3 A levels, BTECs, T levels, and then we go on to university. Now, we covered bits of HE, didn't we, last week when we did careers. However, access course was something that we didn't cover because that's your level 3 if you're an adult and you wanted to get your A-level qualification. That's one way that you'd probably do that. And I think it's interesting and it's probably worth looking into for sure. So we wanted to cover that, but then also there's careers advice for adults as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there was.
The National Careers Service.
And yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Aisha?
Yeah, so National Career Service, we've got a few career advisors that are based on all of our campuses. They kind of rotate around. And they're kind of there to help you through anything career related. Like we spoke to our careers advisors last week, Safraz and
Which
Emma.
normally cover 16 to 18-year-olds and anyone that wants to do higher education.
But this is kind of like open to everyone and anyone.
And it's free. And it's
free.
You can come in unbiased advice.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you come and use the service that you have to come to to Leicester College.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to you to just come and get advice about what your next steps are. Find out whether a distance course might be good for you.
Or an
whether
access
it's
course.
Exactly. And I think one of the key things about that area is we've got appointments that are going to be available. I know we're quite busy.
Yeah, we've got a new team coming, the new NCS team.
Which is quite exciting.
We recruited a few people. They're getting trained up ready for you guys.
So the important thing is you can get in touch with us, but I think they also do the qualification comparison, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So if you've got overseas qualification,
international qualification, they can kind of work that with you, sit down and
figure out which levels you'll be able to come into, how it matches up with the UK education system.
Yeah, and what's needed.
So that's really interesting as well. So shall we do a bit of a summary about today? Because we've covered quite a lot today.
I think we had a lot of grounds to cover.
So we started off with Nick.
We talked about English as a second language and learning courses alongside ESOL.
We talked about IELTS with Nick and OETs. So that's getting back making sure you've got the English qualification at a standard that you can then go into working in the NHS or other industries within the UK.
Or even universities or higher education.
And then we covered Ian, which was skills for work.
Yeah, and that kind of like having that safety net to fall onto and kind of taking them on a journey and becoming a bridge between the individual and getting the job that they want and having these courses along with confidence building and interviews, applications, CVs.
Guaranteed interviews for some of them. So that's a...
Even if you just go for an experience, I think that's so valuable.
Well, so many people struggle to secure the interview. So if you're guaranteed an interview, you're 50% there.
You're halfway there, essentially, yeah. And last but not the least, we had Rebecca talking about kind of like working from home, but not working from home, learning from home, essentially. And, you know, still being in your comfort zone, but getting something new, whether it's a hobby course or an actual professional qualification or certificate to better your career life.
Yeah, definitely. And then the part-time courses, the fun bit.
The fun bit.
So,
Rebecca, have you done any?
No, because I'm too busy trying to promote them.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll let you off. We'll let you off. What would you love to do if you had the choice?
You took the question off me.
The garment making, I think, because it's just really useful, isn't it? And I don't know if I have the patience. I'm not very patient. When we were interviewing staff, we do crochet as well, and I had to have a go at the crochet, and that was the most difficult thing on earth for me. But you can make amazing things. So it's something to do with clothing, I think.
Perfect.
That sounds great.
Well, thank you once again to Rebecca, Nick, and Ian for coming in.
So we've got next week's show. We're going to have a bit of a student takeover, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and just before we go off, don't forget that Ramadan FM is supporting Leicester City Hospital this year to create a spiritual care centre at Leicester Royal Infirmary. This will be used by staff, parents, anyone that is there can be used. So to support, please go on to www.justgiving.com/page/Ramadan.